Okay, good morning and welcome to Daf Yevamos, Daf Yud Gimel, number 13. It is with great sadness that I think now pretty much the Levaya of Rav Chaim Kanievsky or Shemariyahu Chaim, Yosef Chaim Kanievsky, Ben, I think his father's name was Yaakov Yisrael Stipler, goes on right now. Shamash Aliyah, Baruch MS. In the Shmasal and the Surah of Israel Chaim. I think people might be wondering why I'm giving a shir now while Rav Chaim Kanievsky's Levi is going on. If you're wondering that, you're probably not alone. Um, Technically, I could go to the Levi right now and not give a shir. Um, Before I start making any excuses why I'm not going, I'm going to tell you the truth because I don't beat around the bush. Listen, I fundamentally disagree with a lot of the ways. I could say society, but I'm going to say I'm gonna package it in Jewish society, Orthodox Jewish society runs right now. Our concepts of going to simchas and also levayas, those are the two main things that people go to, communal events, going to weddings and going to levayas. It's completely out of proportion, and it's costing our society dearly. Let's start with weddings first of all. People inviting 400 people to their wedding that they barely know, that they share a carpool with, that they meet in shul. Even people that go to the same shul as you. Why are you inviting these people? You don't even know them. You barely spoke to them for 2 minutes. These are not your friends. These are not people that are your relatives. These are not people that you have to have a relationship with. You can't have a relationship with the whole world. Even if you're a superstar, you're the president of the United States, you're the MVP in the NBA. How many real relationships do you have? Do you have relationships with your teammates even? I mean, honestly, we don't have enough time. People who have busy lives, are married, who have kids. Even if you're not married and have kids, you don't have so much time in your life. You need time for yourself. Yourself is the most important. And if you have leftover time, you have to delegate it to the most important people in your life: your wife, your kids, your parents, your siblings, right? We know those people, the siblings, right? The seven krovim that you're mechuyev to metamel mace for. A Kohen who can't be metamel mace, seven krovim he's allowed to. You should have velos for seven krovim. Those seven krovim, who are they? Your children, your wife, your parents, your siblings. That's it. That's it. We talk about friends and family. I do believe in the concept of friends, but friends is definitely not as strong as a bond as family, as blood relative. Maybe you have room as a married man for one good friend in your life. If you're not married, maybe three or four. I mean, you need time for yourself. And a friend is someone who it's mutually beneficial for both of you. You share common interests. You both benefit from being friends. Not that people look at you and say, "Oh, this guy has a lot of friends," or like you do it for peer pressure. That people just say, "Oh, this guy, he has so many friends. Look at this guy, he's so cool. He has so many friends." You really have no friends because a friend's not for yourself. It's to show off that you talk to people in the street and you have a relationship with people. Because society, we like to give approbation to people that have a lot of friends. They're social people. They're extroverts. But if the friendship is not mutually beneficial, both for you and the other person, then it's not a real friendship. And you should only be engaging in talking and things of friendship when going to simchas, when it's beneficial for both of you. And if it's not beneficial for both of you, family's not like that. Family is supposed to have a relationship. Even if it's not, you don't have a great relationship with a person. It's not mutually beneficial. You don't like the other person so much. You don't have commonalities with the other person. It's still your blood relative. But a friend is someone that you share something, you share a strong bond with, you share interests, and you mutually benefit. You both enjoy each other's company. You both enjoy being around each other. If you don't enjoy that and you're just doing it to make it look to other people like you have friends, you're misguided, and that's why people invite some people to their weddings and carry it over to funerals also, because that is also a big event in people's lives, and show your solidarity to your friends, the people in your shul, people in your community, because that's what we do. We do is we go to funerals. We're going to funerals all day, and we're going to weddings all day. And if we're not going, we're making excuses. That's there's a million excuses in the world. Everyone makes excuses. I've heard already today for Rav Chaim Kanievsky's Levaya. I've heard 5 or 6 excuses already. Oh, because it's crowded. It's going to be like me and Roan over there. It's not going to the fashos. Rav Chaim wouldn't want me. Rav Chaim wants me to learn now. That's what I was about to say. Rav Chaim would have wanted me to learn now. Because that's what Rav Chaim did. He did his whole life. He learned. He wanted me to learn now. I can make that excuse very well. Started me up in the morning. It was very early this morning to leave. You can make a million excuses, and it's inconvenient. But the bottom line is you're making an excuse. That means that really you don't want to go. And there's a good reason you don't want to go, because a real person inside you doesn't feel a need to go, and you don't have to go. Chaim Kanievsky was the Gadol Hador for the Haredi community, was the biggest leader for the Haredi community. But even if you consider yourself Haredi, I have no connection, no personal connection to Rav Chaim Kanievsky. I don't have a personal connection to him. I've heard about him, maybe even saw him once. I never spoke to him. I don't feel a personal connection. If I had a Rebbe that I was personally connected to when he died, I'd probably go to Levi. I have a personal connection with him. We shared something. We shared a commonality. If there's no commonality, you don't have to go to these things, and you don't have to, your time is very important. If people's time, they don't realize how important their time in life is important. If you're not realizing how important your time in life is, then you're not really living. Sorry to say. Anyways, that's why I'm not going. I'm not making any excuses. I don't feel a need to go. I could make a million excuses, but I'm not going to. Tell you the honest truth. And there's still a lot of people I know much firmer than me are making millions of excuses. But deep down inside, they don't even know the truth inside themselves. They really don't feel a need to go. That's deep down inside themselves, but they're making excuses to explain it to themselves, explain it to other people. That's what I have to say. There's nothing it doesn't detract at all from the greatness, the godless of Rav Chaim. I believe that he was he was great in Limud Torah. As Benjamin, Chas Shalom to quote Benjamin Netanyahu, he said, these were his words. He says, the fire in his heart for Torah and for Ahavas Yisrael will never cease. It'll never stop. That fire, eternal fire for Torah, learning Torah, is Hasmada was legendary. That fire for Ahavas Torah and Ahavas Yisrael. And Makabal tried to answer all the problems. Kalishal took upon himself a lot of tzedakah projects, and personally guaranteed that anyone who gave tzedakah to such and such a cause or helped such and such a cause, he would be a Megillas Yosher for them. And now he's getting the opportunity to be Megillas Yosher for those people. He took the achrayus of the klal upon himself. His eternal fire for Klal Yisrael and for Torah will never cease. Yehei Zichro Baruch. All right, so the Gemara says, Gimel Amud Aleph, Ketzad Potro Saros Zayin. How do they pater the Saros? Now, this is talking about the Saros Zayin, our Mishnah. One of the things that pater, not only the Saros, but also if the Saros go ahead and they remarry a third brother, right? The Saros Erva, the co-wife of the Erva, marries a third husband. They pater the third husband's his other Saros. Not immediately. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Kra Litzror. I told Ripsa Saros Harbe. Really, this is basically a brisa on Daf Gimel. Litzror, it says two ratios, even Saros is potter minachleitza minagibum. Ravashi is chol, like Ravashi Amar Svar here. It's a simple logical. We can learn from logic. Sarah my time here. The makom erva kaima. Sarah savra nami v'makom erva kaima. It's a svara pshuta. That the reason Sarah's erva is asur is because she's erva. Right. This is what I discussed yesterday with Yevamos ben Sion, and today we will be just furthering my proofs for the Shita of Rava and Yevamos ben Sion yesterday formulated the reason Sarah is asur is not because Eish actual of a Malkum Mitzvah, it's because of Sarah takes on the same status as the erva. The erva is bito, let's say, so the kari. So therefore the Sarah, because of the drasha, becomes bito. You have two bitos. Your Sarah is bito also. It becomes halachically kari, so the bito, not Eish actual of a Malkum Mitzvah. And this is problematic, this Rav Ashi over here, because Gemara to Brisa before. How is Rav Ashi arguing with Brisa that? Well, Rav Ashi is adding, he's saying, based on, right, the Brisa was Tanoic and Yonah was a Hekesha from the Brisa. I would say Rav Ashi is learning like Rava over here, the Svara over here. Again, once you say that the Sarah becomes an Erva, becomes Bito, so the Sarah also becomes Bito. That would only work according to Rava, not according to the Eish Shal Mitzvah. Kesad Imesu Hain, Vafilu Kanas himself Girish. As much from our Mishnah, it doesn't say what happened, right? We said that if the Bito, the Erva, dies on his Garish, right, or there's Garish before the Nefila, before the husband dies, the brother dies, so then the Sarah is Muteres. Vafilu Kanas himself Girish. So the Gemara says it doesn't say any chilukim, doesn't say any distinction. It would even apply, even if your deceased brother, before he died, he he brought in a co-wife, and then he was Megarish, the boss of his brother, right, of his brother that's going to fall to Yibam. Or a minu, we see now like from Baisa, Gimel Achin. This is later on in the Masechta. Gimel Achin, Shnai Mehem Nesu and Shtei Achayos, two brothers. Three brothers, sorry. Two of them are married to two sisters. Echan Nasi Nachris, and the third one is married to a completely unrelated woman. Girish Echan Mebale Achayos Ishto. So one of the ones married to the sister, he divorced his wife, Umeis, and then he dies. Anasoi Nachris, Umeis, Hanasoi Nachris. And then the man who was married to the third woman who wasn't related to them, he dies. Vikinsa Megarish, and I guess his wife, he got married to the Megarish, the man who was Megarish, one of the sisters of Mace, and then the first brother dies, who was married to one of the sisters. Zuhisha Amrush Mason Mutaros. So this Raisa later on says that's what the Mishnah was talking about on Daf Beis, time of the Girish Akana. It's only because it's specific this case. It's because he's Megarish, the Erva, the sister, and then he was Konesh, the Sarah. Valkanas Vakagach Girish, it implies from this Brisa that if he first married the Sarah and then he was Megarish, one of the sisters, it wouldn't be the same rule. So what's the halacha? Like this Brisa later on, or like a Mishnah, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah Tavra Mishnah Zul Shana Zul. That I think is actually a Mishnah. Yirmiyah says the Mishnah later on, the author of the Mishnah later on, obviously argues on our Mishnah on Daf Beis. Haitana Savar Misa Mapelas, Haitana Savar Nisu and Harishonim Mapilim. One, our Mishnah holds that and Misa's Mapelas, the deciding factor is when he dies. When he dies, he already was Megarish the Erva, he's Megarish the Erva, so the Sarah is Mutter. Masha'en Kain, the Mishnah later on holds Nisu and Harishonim Mapilim, when the brother marries Sarah along with the Erva, and then he's Megarish her afterwards, so therefore, already Nisu and Harishonim, it already answered the Sarah. Rava Amar La'olam Chatanahu V'Zuve and Sarah Lamar Zukasani. Rava says no, that the author of our Mishnah and that later is the same. Our Mishnah is telling a bigger chiddush. Our Mishnah is telling, in all cases, it would happen the Sarah's Muteres, even if it was Kanas Lubsov Giresh. The Mishnah later on telling an obvious case, but sometimes the Mishnayos do that. They say this is the bigger chiddush, and then later on we'll say, of course, this is also true. We'll see in English Ben Sion why Rava says what he says over here. Is Rava again. Rava. Anyone could do miyun. Anyone can do miyun, and she does miyun, and she doesn't do miyun. So therefore, the Sarah is going to be asur. The Gemara says timayin hashta. Why can't she do after the husband, the brother dies? She can do miyun now. But this yabim. And then the Sarah could do Yibam. Leim Messiah Rabbi Yoshai. It says proof to Rabbi Yoshai. Amar Yoshai menes tamamar. Leim menes lezikaso. Rabbi Yoshai is a shita that you can only do miyun for maima, right? If the Yavam did maima, he did kedushin to the Yavama, so then he can mavatal that. That he can mavatal. The Ketana can mavatal. And then he wouldn't need a get. But she can't menes lezikaso. Once the Zika happens, she falls to the Yavam. She can't get rid of that. When it says low, we don't have to say like Rabbi Shai. Sarah's Erev Shiny, the Tanya Rabbi Amir Chezel Mina Babal Muteres LaAviv. If the case of Yevama, if Katana is mine the husband, she's mine her husband, she's mutter to the father. Mina be Yavam, but she fell to the Yavam. Asura La'av, she can't marry his father. So once the Zika happens, once the Nafila happens, so she looks at it as if she's almost married to the son. Therefore, she can't marry the father. She looks like already a daughter-in-law. Daughter-in-law is Asur. Hakanami mishas Nafila niras kasaras bito. Here also, once the Zika happens, she falls to the Ibam, she can't be Mamayan, or not be Darais, she could be Mamayan. But there are abundant, she can't be Mamayan, because it's near Kasaras Bito, the Sarah of the Bash. She looks like the Sarah of Bito. Even though he could technically get rid of Bito, he could Mamayan Bito, the brother can Mamayan Bito. I mean, the Katana can get out of being the Zika of Bito, it still looks like the Sarah. I mean, the Rabbanan there goes there and said she can't be Mamayan do Chalitza. Mishnah says, new Mishnah, Sheish Arayas Chamuras Me'elu. There are 6 Arayas, which are more Chamer than the first 15 cases. Why they're more Chamer? They can't be married to your brother. All 6 of these Arayas we're going to see. There's no case, it's not possible to have, without doing an Avera, it's not possible to have a case of Yibum. So I was saying, because there's no case where your brother can marry them, so therefore only someone else can marry them, not your brother, so it's not a case of Yibum. So therefore, even though the Erva is going to be Asr to you, but the Sarah has no connection, it's not going to be Asr. What are the 6 cases? I was saying, Imo, Ve'eshes, Aviv, your mother. Now, Yibum is only with your paternal brother, right? So you share a father, you don't share a mother. So your brother, he can't marry your mother, right? Because she's the wife of your father, and it's his father also, the wife of your father. We learned the Gemara on Daf Dalit. Everyone agrees. Everyone agrees that you can't marry your father's wife. It's allowed, but you can't marry it. The Ashes of it. Also, even if she's not your mother, but she's the wife of your father, just like she's the wife of your father for you, she's the wife of your father for your paternal brother. Again, the same idea. Achos Aviv, also the sister of your father. Again, you share a father, so it's his aunt, your brother's aunt also. He can't marry her. Achosam Aviv, if you share a sister from your father's, right? So it's his sister also. You can't marry her. Ashes Achi Aviv, again, your aunt. This is your aunt that's your father's brother's wife. Again, your brother has the same father. We're talking about Yibum over here. So it's his aunt also. Ashes Achiv Ma'aviv. And this is the prototypical case. Your brother, your paternal brother, meaning the Mishnah means where Yibum was not Shayach, where he had children already, or Shalaya Ba'olamo, or there was Gerish and Megarish, his wife. In all those cases, there's no Yibum over here, and therefore you can marry the Sarah. Now this is really going back on our first Mishnah. Ben Shammai argues on the entire first Mishnah. The first Mishnah says that the Sarah is Ptura min ha'chalitza min ha'yibum. And Ben Shammai says that's not true. We'll see why. The Gemara will explain why, according to Ben Shammai, the Sarahs aren't coming mutter. Meaning the Erva is Alvi Asur, the Sarah is mutter. But still Osran, but still say they're Asur, and there's a Ptura min ha'chalitza min ha'yibum. Chaltu, top of Yud Gimel Beis is Chaltu, Ben Shammai posted min ha'kuna Beisil machshirin. If they did chalitza, they do chalitzas to the saros. So Beit Shammai says technically you can marry the saros, so therefore it's a valid chalitza. So posted minachahuna. So there it's called a chalutza. It's called a halachically valid chalutza, and chalutza bin rabbanan is also to the kuna. Beisil well machshir, and they say it's irrelevant. There's no chalitza to a saros. She's part of the chalitza mayim. It doesn't take effect. There's no zika, so it doesn't make her a chalutza. And siabmu Beit Shammai machshir and Beisil post. And let's say you went ahead and you marry the Sarah. Marry the Sarah. So Beit Shammai machshir, and Beit Shammai says they're allowed to, right? They're allowed to marry the Saros. They're motor laguna. They still post and they say you violated an Isser. You can't marry a Sarah. She's an erva. She's an erva, so that creates a psul. She's considered a zona. She does an illicit relationship. She's called a zona. She's psul laguna. Even though Beit Shammai behil asr, Beit Shammai matter. Elu posel machshirin. And Beit Shammai said, there, apostle Beisil is a machshir, and Laninu Beit Shammai, Melissa, and Nashim Beisil, and the Beisil, only Beit Shammai. They would still marry, intermarry, into each other's community. They would tell each other, obviously, what the case was. They know how to apply the halacha, but they didn't become a different sect. They were still Jews. They weren't Haredi and modern Orthodox, and Datil Leumi and Breslov and Chabad and Ger and Bells. No, they were all the same. The conservative reform. They're all the same people. They're all Jews. They're all Jews. We don't have to have boxes anymore. I mean, the Gemara didn't have boxes nowadays. Unfortunately, we do. Again, even though some they pass the different psak halachas, they were more matami things, they were more matar things. Still, they would just hear, oh, according to you it's Torah, according to you it's Tameh, and they have no problem using things that belong to the other person as long as it was Torah according to their standards. What's the reason of Beit Shammai? They allow the sorrows to marry. What is this pasuk referring to? So according to Beit Shammai, it refers to this case. The case in our Mishnah, on the first Mishnah, where one is an heir, one wife is an heir. She's the pnimis. She's related to the person, to the yavam, and the chutza is a sarah. Amarachmana lo siya. Torah says she can't marry an Ishzar. Now, the chutza, the sarah, can't marry an Ishzar. Who can she marry? The achin, the yivam, she could do. She is in a zika. She has zika, and therefore, no one, a stranger can't marry her. The yavam can. One of the brothers can. They need this pasuk for something else. How do you know, in a regular case of Yibam, if someone else besides the Yavam or a Zar, a regular strange person, wants to Makadosh the woman, it doesn't work. Even if he tries to Makadosh, even though normally Kedushin Tovsim Mechayiv Lav, and it's only allowed to marry a Yevamos Lachutz, she marries someone outside the bond of Yibam, it's only allowed. Still, the Kedushin not Tovsin according to the way we paskin, or Hidam Arav. Where did Beishamai? Why don't they learn like Rav Hidam Arav? It says chutza, not lachutz. Lachutz with more mashma like Beis Hillel, someone outside of the bond of zika. Beis Hillel came in the chesiv chutza, come on the chesiv lachutz dami. Beis Hillel says it's basically the same where chutza and lachutz. Decided on the Nechemia Omer kol teo shtrich alam tchilasa hitila kosav hey besofa. If the Torah wanted to say put a lamed before the word, sometimes they just put a hey after the word. It means the same thing. Going elim elima when Kalisha was going to certain places, instead of saying le elim, it says elima machanai ma. It said machanai ma mitzrayim ma, going to Mitzrayim. Limit instead of mitzrayim ma. Divla Saima, Yerushalayim, Midbar. All these cases, it says a hey at the end. It's like a lam at the beginning. With Shammai, where do they know that a regular case of Yevama, is not Topsin, but from Michutz, from outside the bond of Ziga? They learn it out. They don't use the word achutza. They use leizar. Say Eishes Hamesh leizar. Nafko. Beisil namin tebak lum leizar. Why do you need achutza to teach me that? Just learn out from Eishzar. In Achanam, the Gemara's mother, you could have learned that according to Beisil from that. Chutza lamali. Why do you say chutza? L'rabos harusa. So why? So in fact, so what do they do with chutza? Why don't they learn like Beis Shammai? They say chutza is to tell you that arusa is also considered to be have a zika. There's a zika by arusa also, right? If your brother is ma'aris, a woman, and she falls to him, there's also a zika there, not just if she's married to your brother, and therefore also she can't be married. She can't marry somebody else. She has a bond of zika. And where does Beis Shammai learn that? He says an extra hey hachutza. Either chutza lamashma. Beis Hillel doesn't charge an extra hey. Rava Amar Tamai de Beis Shammai, a different shot. And Rava again. This will be Yom. See on Rava sticking in his nose in again. Rava Tamai de Beis Shammai de Ein Israchal Isser. He says the reason Beis Shammai is no Israchal Isser. The whole idea in the story is Asser is because Israchal Isser. Because we have to say Israchal Isser, right? You have Eishes Ach, your brother's wife, which is Asser, and then the erva. We'll see in a second. Ein Israchal Isser. The Gemara says Teina. Well, let's explain it. Teina Checha the Nasa Meis V'Ak Nasa Chai Lo Asi Isser Achos Yisha V'Chai Al Isser Eishes Ach. right? What would be the first case? If the mace, your brother, right, the brother who's going to die, he married your daughter, let's say, and then he married. I'm sorry, let's say a sister, right? He married a sister, and then you married the living person who's going to be the Yavam. He married the other sister. Since originally once your brother marries somebody, so it's already a matzav situation of Eishazach, right? We're not sure between Makom Mitzvah, Shalom Makom Mitzvah, if he's going to have children, not going to have children. The Eishazach. So Achaz Isha is not Chal. So Achaz Isha is not Chal, so therefore, Ein Isha Chal Isra, there's no Makom for Achaz Isha to be Chal. So therefore, the Sarah is going to be Muteres. Al Nasa Chai V'achar Nasa Meis, Achaz Isha Kodim. But let's say, you got married first. The future Yavam got married first, and then the brother got married. They were gonna die. Achaz Isha Kadam. First, the Isser Achaz Isha came when the Azlasi Isser. Achaz Isha Kadam. So first Achaz Isha came. So why isn't the Sarah also according to Beit Shammai? So the Gemara says, we'll have to explain the logic, what's going on over here. And Yom Tzion came when the last Isser Eishazach v'Chal Isser Achaz Isha have Yolei Sarah Ero Shalom Makom Mitzvah Sharia. You're right. Isser Achaz Isha in this case would come first, but because the second Isser is Eishazach, your brother, when your brother marries the sister, so now Eishazach, it transforms it into Eishazach Makom Mitzvah, Eishazach Shalom Makom Mitzvah. So therefore, Havel starts Shalom Makom Mitzvah, which transform the whole situation to Shalom Makom Mitzvah. And once it's Shalom Makom Mitzvah, so it's not a case of Yevamos anymore, so there's no reason to include the Pasuk in Nav Gimel to actually the Saras. It's not called Makom Mitzvah, it's called Shalom Makom Mitzvah, the Saras Muteres. Like the Mishnah in Gimel and Aleph. Alright, Chaltu Beit Shammai posted Pshita. Obviously, if they do chalitza, it would be puzzle. It would be a chalutza. The Gemara says pshita lafuki the Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri to exclude the teaching of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Tell the halacha is not like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Amar bo and saklan l'tzara shu cholz l'mas Yevamos. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri had a pshara. He wanted to resolve the issue between Mishamah and Tilla. Let's just do something that fits according to everybody. Let's do chalitza. For the achim do chalitza. According to Beis Shammai, you could do even with the saros. According to Beis Hillel, there's no even chalitza. Let's compromise, do chalitza. In which case, it would be a takan rabbanan that you need chalitza according to Yochanan ben Nuri, and therefore it would be considered a chalutza even according to Beis Hillel. Kamashma, the Beis Hillel machshir, and Kamashma, we don't pass Yochanan ben Nuri, and therefore there's no need for chalitza at all, even if they're rabbanan, and there's not called a chalutza, and she's muteres to the kohen according to Beis Hillel. This Yabu Beis Hillel postlin hatu lamli. Why do you have to tell me the same? It's the same thing as before. I did tell you chalutza, tell you not this Yabu because we told the case of chalutza, so we also felt inclined to tell you the case of this Yamu, but you could have figured out the logic yourself. Non Hassam. We learned over there in Mesechus Megillah. Today is Ted Zayin, Yud Zayin. Non Hassam. Megillah Nikra is Be'echad. Echadasar, Shleimashar, Shalashazar, Rabasar, Chamishazar. Bakos Yosek read 5 different days. Not more, not less, to exclude, the Gemara says on Megillah, on that base, to exclude Ted Zayin and Yud Zayin. So it's relevant today also. I'm going to see Rabbi Yochanan, Ikri Khan. Let's go to the problem with this Mishnah. We're going to see how this relates to our Gemara, to our Mishnah. Eventually the Gemara will bring in our Mishnah, but the Gemara starts from Megillah. The problem, let's just go to Los Hasu Agudas. Agudas, you're not supposed to have divisions in Klal Yisrael. You shouldn't have Agudas Yisrael. Has a shal. We'll have to clarify that. All right, let's Agudas. You don't make category, you don't make different groups in Klal Yisrael. Don't make boxes. How could this be? You're going to have the Megillah laying on 5 different days? Gemara says, Hailos is going to be first. Gemara says, Hailos is going to be Vayla Gufa. You need it for something else. If someone dies, you shouldn't inflict a wound upon yourself. That's what the pasuk's talking about. If you just wanted to teach me about making a wound, it could have said Losa go to my tis go to with extra tough. It's come to teach you also that. Maybe it's coming entirely to teach you don't make agudas. Could have said sagodu without double dollar. My closest is go to do $2. I'm not target. You learn both things. I'm really adkan loshanis makom shenag las malacha ba'arva. So that was his question. So He says, so he answers back. Yochanan said to Reish Lakish, listen, we find in Mesechus Psachim, but which comes before Mesechus Megillah, we already find this concept of agudos agudos, right? Some places could do malacha on erev basis of chatzos, some places don't. So it's agudos agudos. Everyone like amina l'chana isura. Like said, I'm saying it's an isser, right? It's a chiyuv to lay in Yud Aleph Beis Yud Gimel. That's a halacha. Damar Rav Sham Barab Amar Yochanan l'kayim izmei apurim izmaneim. That's different times. 5 different days to possibly read the Megillah. Those are Isra v'Heter. You're telling me a minhag? A minhag is it's a minhag. It's not really a halacha. So he says back to him, it's not an Isra. Rabbi Yochanan said, in fact, malacha is subject to a Isra Heter. But Shammai doesn't allow you to do malacha at night. It still allows you. The Gemara says the reason over there that you're allowed to have agudos seemingly is because it's not really going to cause friction in Klal Yisrael, because even if he's not doing malacha, people will say it's not because b'shita he holds malacha is not allowed to be done. It's just he doesn't have anything to do. He doesn't have any business. He has no clients, so that's why he's not doing malacha. It's not going to bring pure in Klal Yisrael. We'll continue this discussion tomorrow how it relates to our Mishnah. Hope you have a good day. Stay tuned for Yevamos coming up right now.